Welcome to What a Mystery YouTube channel. Today's story is one of a tragic death of Charlotte Avery, 1920s Hollywood's most beloved silent film star. Los Angeles, 1925. The city was a blend of dreams and reality, where the glitter of Hollywood promised fame and fortune to the lucky few. Amidst this backdrop of hope and aspiration, the silent film industry flourished, captivating audiences with stories told not through words but through expressions, gestures, and music. Charlotte Avery, the era's most beloved silent film star, had the city at her feet. Her latest film, Whispers of the Heart, promised to be her greatest masterpiece yet. On set, Charlotte was more than an actress, she was a muse, bringing to life the visions of directors and the fantasies of her fans. It was on a cool, misty evening that tragedy struck. The set of Whispers of the Heart was unusually quiet, the usual hustle and bustle replaced by a somber stillness. The cast and crew had gathered, but the star of the show was conspicuously absent. Detective James Callahan was not a man easily swayed by the glitz of Hollywood, yet even he couldn't deny the magic Charlotte Avery brought to the screen. When he received the call that she had been found dead on set, it felt as though the city itself had taken a sharp breath in. As Callahan made his way through the studio lot, he couldn't help but notice how the bright lights seemed dimmer, the laughter a little forced. The studio, usually a place of endless creativity and energy, was shrouded in mourning. The set of Whispers of the Heart was a grand replica of a 1920s ballroom, every detail meticulously crafted to transport viewers to a bygone era. It was here, in the center of the ballroom set, that Charlotte Avery had taken her final bow. Lying still on the polished floor, her once sparkling eyes closed forever, Charlotte looked almost as if she were merely resting between takes. But the pool of blood beneath her, stark against the floor's gleaming surface, spoke of a more sinister reality. Callahan knelt beside her, his experienced eyes scanning the scene. There were no signs of a struggle, no immediate clues to suggest who might have wanted the star dead. Yet, in a city where appearances were everything, Callahan knew that secrets lurked behind every smile, every gesture of affection. As the initial shock of Charlotte's death began to fade, questions arose. Who could have wanted to harm the darling of Hollywood? Was it a crime of passion, a jealous rival, or something more? Detective Callahan stood, his gaze sweeping over the set. The silent film industry had lost its brightest star, and it was his job to uncover the truth hidden in the shadows of the final scene. The investigation would take him deep into the heart of Hollywood, where ambition and envy danced a dangerous tango and nothing was as it seemed. The mystery of Charlotte Avery's death promised to be as complex and captivating as the film she starred in. And as Callahan stepped out of the artificial glow of the set and into the fading sunlight, he knew that the path to uncovering the truth would be filled with twists and turns befitting a Hollywood drama. In the end, it wasn't just about finding a killer. It was about unraveling the story of a woman who had captivated a nation, whose final scene had come too soon. And for Detective Callahan, it was a case that would test not just his skills as a detective, but his understanding of the human heart. Detective James Callahan had seen much in his years on the force, but the silent film industry was a world unto itself. As he delved deeper into the investigation of Charlotte Avery's murder, it became clear that the glittering surface of Hollywood concealed a web of secrets and lies. The day following Charlotte's death dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the dark undercurrents swirling beneath the city's polished exterior. Callahan's first stop was to interview Evelyn Hart, Charlotte's closest friend and a fellow actress in Whispers of the Heart. Their meeting place was a quaint cafe nestled on the outskirts of Hollywood, away from prying eyes and eager ears. Evelyn arrived, her face a mask of sorrow. Yet, as she spoke of Charlotte, hints of envy and bitterness seeped through her carefully crafted facade. Evelyn Hart. Charlotte was the star, always in the spotlight. Sometimes, it was hard to stand beside her, always in the shadows. Callahan noted the undercurrent of jealousy in Evelyn's voice, a potential motive lurking beneath the surface of their friendship. Yet, Evelyn was quick to dismiss any notion of ill will toward Charlotte, painting a picture of a deep and complicated bond between them. Next, Callahan sought out Thomas Reed, the director of Whispers of the Heart. Reed's office was a testament to his success, adorned with posters of his hit films and awards that glittered under the soft lighting. Reed himself was a charismatic man, his charm evident in every word and gesture. Callahan wasn't easily swayed by outward appearances. Thomas Reed. Charlotte was a talent like no other. Her death is not just a loss to this studio, but to the entire world of cinema. Despite Reed's praises, Callahan sensed a tension in the air, a hint of something unsaid. It was well known that Reed's relationships with his leading ladies often blurred the lines of professionalism. Could Charlotte have been entangled in such a relationship, and if so, had it led to her demise? Walter Knight, a wealthy patron of the arts and Charlotte's most ardent admirer, was next. Knight's mansion was a shrine to Charlotte, filled with portraits and memorabilia that bordered on obsession. Walter Knight. I loved her, detective, but love from afar. I would never harm her. Knight's words were those of a man lost in love, yet Callahan couldn't shake the feeling that Knight's obsession might have driven him to extremes. As the day wore on, Callahan's list of suspects grew, each with their own secrets and motives. Yet it was his unexpected encounter with Violet Weston, the ambitious newcomer, that added a new layer of complexity to the case. Violet Weston. Charlotte Avery was everything I aspired to be, but to suggest I would kill for her spot, that's madness. Violet's ambition was palpable, her desire to rise to the top undeniable. But was it enough to drive her to murder? With each interview, the web of secrets surrounding Charlotte Avery's life and death grew more tangled. Callahan knew that to find the killer, he would need to unravel these secrets, to peer behind the curtain of the silent film industry, and expose the truth hidden in the shadows. As the sun set on Hollywood, casting long shadows across the city, Callahan realized that Charlotte Avery's final scene was more than a tragic end to a brilliant career. It was a doorway into the darkness that lay at the heart of Hollywood, a darkness filled with ambition, jealousy, and obsession. To solve the mystery of her death, he would need to unveil the secrets that she had taken to her grave. The next morning, Detective James Callahan found himself at the gates of the grand studio where Charlotte Avery had spent her final moments. Today, he was not here to interrogate, but to observe, to immerse himself in the world Charlotte had lived in, hoping it might whisper secrets of its own. The studio lot was a hive of activity, a stark contrast to the somber mood of the previous day. Actors rehearsed their lines, directors barked orders, and crew members scurried about, setting the stage for the day's shoots. Yet, amidst this orchestrated chaos, there was a palpable sense of loss. Charlotte's absence was felt by all. Callahan made his way to the set of Whispers of the Heart, now a silent monument to its star. He stood there for a moment, taking in the grandeur and the tragedy of it all. It was here, in the artificial glow of the set lights, that Charlotte had taken her last breath. What had she seen in her final moments? Fear? Anger? Despair? His contemplation was interrupted by the arrival of the film's producer, Lucas Graham, a man whose reputation for ruthlessness was only matched by his knack for producing hit films. Lucas's face was a well-practiced mask of grief, but his eyes, sharp and calculating, missed nothing. Lucas Graham. Detective, I assure you we're doing all we can to cooperate with your investigation. Charlotte was the heart of this film. Her loss is irreplaceable. Callahan nodded, noting the carefully chosen words. In Hollywood, every sentence was a performance, every emotion subject to interpretation. He wondered what role Lucas Graham played in this tragic drama. Determined to peel back the layers of the silent film star's life, Callahan requested access to Charlotte's personal trailer on set. As he stepped inside, he was struck by the stark contrast between the opulence of her public persona and the simplicity of her private space. Photos of Charlotte with cast and crew adorned the walls, alongside handwritten notes and sketches. It was a glimpse into the woman behind the star, revealing a warmth and sincerity that the headlines never captured. Among the personal effects, Callahan found a series of letters, carefully hidden away. They were from Walter Knight, each more passionate and intense than the last. Yet it was the absence of Charlotte's responses that spoke volumes. Had she rebuffed his advances, igniting a fatal obsession? As the day turned to evening, Callahan's thoughts were interrupted by an urgent message. A break in the case had emerged, a piece of evidence previously overlooked. Rushing back to the precinct, Callahan was presented with a reel of film, discovered in the projection room, labeled simply as Charlotte's confession. The film, grainy and flickering, showed Charlotte Avery as never seen before. Seated at a dressing table, she spoke directly to the camera, her eyes revealing a vulnerability and fear that pierced the detective's heart. Charlotte Avery on film. I know I'm in danger. There are secrets here, in this place, secrets that can destroy lives. If you're watching this, then I'm already gone. Please find the truth. Protect those I love. The film ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Callahan sat, stunned. This was no longer just a murder investigation, it was a plea from beyond the grave, a silent film star reaching out through the veil of death for justice. Determined to honor Charlotte's last request, Callahan knew that the answers lay in the secrets she had uncovered, secrets that someone had killed to keep hidden. It was time to cast light into the shadows of glamour, to reveal the darkness lurking behind the glittering facade. Detective James Callahan sat in the dim light of the viewing room long after Charlotte's film had ended, the echoes of her confession reverberating through his mind. This was more than a call for justice, it was a map to the heart of the labyrinth, one that promised to guide him through the darkness. With new determination, Callahan revisited the list of suspects, each now cast in a more sinister light. Charlotte's warning had been clear, there were secrets that someone would kill to keep. It was time to peel back the layers of each relationship, each encounter she had documented in the days leading up to her death. The following day, Callahan returned to the studio, this time with Charlotte's film as his guide. He sought out Evelyn Hart first, confronting her with the revelation of Charlotte's fears. Evelyn, faced with the undeniable truth of her friend's apprehension, broke down, revealing the pressures and dangers Charlotte faced. Evelyn Hart. Charlotte was trapped, detective. She stumbled upon something big. It was about the studio, about the films. She didn't know who to trust anymore. Evelyn's admission shed new light on Charlotte's actions. She hadn't been merely an actress caught in the cogs of Hollywood's machine, she had been a whistleblower, ready to expose a scandal that threatened to engulf them all. With Evelyn's words as his compass, Callahan sought out Thomas Reed. The director, once the embodiment of charm and confidence, now appeared defensive, cornered. Presented with the knowledge of Charlotte's intentions, Reed faltered, revealing his awareness of the studio's darker dealings but denying any involvement in her death. Thomas Reed. Yes, I knew she was planning to come forward. I tried to dissuade her. This industry, it devours its own. But murder? That's not me, detective. Reed's acknowledgement of the industry's ruthlessness added another layer to the mystery. If Reed was to be believed, then Charlotte's death was not just about personal vendettas but a systemic rot within Hollywood itself. Callahan's next stop was Walter Knight's mansion. The revelation of Charlotte's confession had struck a nerve with the wealthy patron. Confronted with the depth of Charlotte's fear, Knight's obsession turned to despair. Walter Knight. I would have done anything for her. But she was so afraid, and I didn't see it. I thought my love could save her, but it only pushed her further into danger. Knight's words painted a picture of a man lost in his delusions, incapable of seeing the truth of Charlotte's plight. Yet, his alibi for the night of her death remained solid, a puzzle piece that didn't fit. Lastly, Callahan revisited Violet Weston, the ambitious newcomer. Armed with the knowledge of Charlotte's fears, he saw Violet in a new light. Her ambition, once a motive for murder, now seemed like a mere distraction from the real dangers that Charlotte had faced. Violet Weston. I looked up to her. I wanted to be her, but not like this. I didn't know the cost of fame in this town. Violet's words, filled with a newfound understanding of the price of ambition, echoed the chilling truth of Charlotte's confession. Hollywood was a land of dreams and nightmares, where the cost of fame could be one's life. As Callahan left the studio lot, the pieces of the puzzle began to coalesce into a picture more complex and disturbing than he had imagined. Charlotte's death was a symptom of a deeper malaise within Hollywood, a place where secrets were currency and lives were expendable. Determined to unravel the mystery, Callahan knew that the key lay in understanding the scandal Charlotte had uncovered. It was a story that someone had killed to keep silent, and he was determined to bring it to light. Detective James Callahan's resolve hardened as the pieces of the puzzle began to align, each revelation a step closer to the heart of darkness within Hollywood's glittering facade. Armed with the insights gleaned from his encounters, Callahan knew his next move was crucial. It was time to confront the studio itself, the nexus around which Charlotte Avery's tragic end revolved. The studio, a fortress of dreams and illusions, loomed large as Callahan crossed its threshold. His badge, a symbol of his authority, felt almost insignificant in the shadow of the studio's towering legacy. Yet the weight of Charlotte's silent plea for justice propelled him forward. Callahan faced Lucas Graham across a polished mahogany desk, the producer's earlier facade of cooperation replaced by an air of defiance. Graham, sensing the detective's shifting approach, was on guard, his responses measured. Callahan. Charlotte Avery was about to expose something significant, something that could tarnish this studio's reputation. What was she planning to reveal, Mr. Graham? Charlotte was an actress, detective. Not an investigator. You overestimate her influence. But Callahan was undeterred. He laid out the evidence, piece by piece, from Charlotte's film to the testimonies of those closest to her. Each fact was a blow to Graham's composure, revealing cracks in the producer's polished veneer. As the confrontation reached its zenith, an unexpected ally emerged. A junior employee of the studio, motivated by conscience and the shadow of Charlotte's fate, came forward with the missing link, a dossier of incriminating evidence that Charlotte had compiled, detailing the studio's involvement in a range of illicit activities, but from bribery to manipulation of box office numbers. As news of the investigation spread, the studio lot, once abuzz with activity, fell eerily silent. The glamour of Hollywood could no longer mask the ugliness hidden within its ranks. Charlotte Avery's death had ignited a reckoning, exposing the rot at the industry's core. The dawn broke over Los Angeles, casting a golden hue over the city as it awakened. Detective James Callahan, having spent the night poring over the dossier and piecing together the final parts of the puzzle, felt a sense of clarity he hadn't felt since the investigation began. Today he would solve the murder of Charlotte Avery. With the dossier as his guide, Callahan had traced the roots of the corruption back to a single, damning connection, a series of secret financial transactions linking Lucas Graham directly to an underground gambling ring, one that had bet heavily against Charlotte Avery's latest film. The implication was clear. Charlotte's intention to expose the studio's corruption threatened to undermine Graham's illicit gains, providing him with a motive for murder. Armed with this knowledge, Callahan arranged for a final confrontation with Lucas Graham, this time in the presence of the LAPD's chief of police and a team of officers ready to make an arrest. The office, once a symbol of power and control, now served as the stage for Graham's downfall. As Callahan laid out the evidence, Graham's defiance slowly crumbled, replaced by the realization that his empire of lies was collapsing around him. Callahan. Charlotte Avery was more than an actress. She was a beacon of truth in a world overshadowed by corruption. You took her life to protect your secrets, but in doing so, you've only brought them into the light. Graham. You don't understand. This industry, it changes you. I did what I thought was necessary. As Graham was taken into custody, the truth about Charlotte Avery's murder began to ripple through Hollywood, shaking the foundations of an industry built as much on illusion as on dreams. Weeks later, a memorial service was held in Charlotte's honor. The event was attended by friends, family, and fans, as well as those who had been touched by her bravery and her tragic demise. Detective Callahan stood among the mourners, his presence a silent testament to the justice that had been served. In his hands, Callahan held a copy of Charlotte's final film, Whispers of the Heart, now set to be released as a tribute to her memory. The film, once a symbol of Charlotte's impending revelation, had become a monument to her courage and her indomitable spirit. As the memorial service came to a close, Callahan walked alone to the edge of the cemetery, overlooking the city below. Los Angeles stretched out before him, a land of contrasts where light and shadow danced in an eternal embrace. In solving the murder of Charlotte Avery, Callahan had not only brought a killer to justice but had also illuminated the darkness lurking within Hollywood. Charlotte's legacy would live on, a reminder of the cost of truth and the power of one person to make a difference. As the sun set on the City of Angels, Detective James Callahan made a silent vow to continue fighting for those who could no longer speak for themselves, inspired by the memory of the silent film star whose final scene had changed everything. Thanks for listening to one of our favorite stories from What a Mystery YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe.